You know, there comes a point where you stop waiting for the perfect moment to make your film and you just make the damn thing. That's where I'm at. This year, I'm shooting a short film called Cult of Me. We've got 5 days, a tight crew, and a story that's just kind of been sitting in my head for way too long. This is about showing what I can do and building something that opens the door to the next thing. This video, it's not just behind the scenes, it's the strategy behind the scenes and how I'm approaching production, festivals, and marketing, plus what I've learned from getting it wrong before. Let's talk about what it really takes to turn a short into something bigger. Cult of Me is a horror short about, I'm not going to tell you. It's about stuff. The story felt honest and cinematic, and once I had the idea, it was clear. This could be the short that finally launches a feature. Let's talk about some filmmakers who actually pulled it off, who didn't just make a great short, but turned that short into buzz, funding, and careers. And more importantly, how they did it. David Sandberg shot lights out in his apartment with his wife as the actor and posted it directly to YouTube. The idea was simple. A woman turns off the light and a figure appears. Short, tight, terrifying. What happened next? He entered it into the Who's There horror short film challenge and won. But here's the genius part. After that win, he reposted it everywhere. Reddit horror subs, Facebook horror groups, and YouTube horror curation channels. It exploded with viral numbers. Hollywood called. That short became a feature with James Wan producing, and Sandberg went on to direct Annabelle Creation and Shazam. The strategy takeaway from this? He didn't just wait for a studio. He distributed the short like a marketer. Social first, horror community first. And it worked. The short film version of Whiplash wasn't originally intended to stand alone. It was bait for the feature. Chazelle shot it quickly and submitted it to Sundance, where it won a jury prize. Then, he used that momentum to raise money for the feature. They leveraged the buzz by releasing exclusive behind-the-scenes content, interviews, and script samples online that showed how the story would expand. It wasn't just, hey, we won Sundance, it was, here's how we scaled this into an Oscar contender. Which, of course, it became. The strategy takeaway here is that the short wasn't the end product. It was the fundraising deck in cinematic form. Cummings made Thunder Road as a one-take short. A cop delivers a eulogy that spirals into a meltdown. It premiered at Sundance and won the grand jury prize, but Jim didn't stop at a few screenings. He used his award moment as a content opportunity. He filmed a reaction video, wrote public breakdowns of his festival strategy, and got super transparent about how he made the short. He went on podcasts, hit Reddit, and built a behind-the-scenes following as a DIY filmmaker. He then crowdfunded the feature version directly from his audience, raising $36,000 on Seed and Spark, and shot it completely independently. The film went on to win South by Southwest and led to films like The Beta Test and The Wolf of Snow Hollow. Strategy takeaway here is that he didn't wait for press, he became his own press. This short was made as a fun side project while Edgerton was doing stunt work, but it ended up being selected at over 70 film festivals. The twist? He didn't pitch it like a festival drama. He marketed it as a comedy with blood, and it played like gangbusters at genre fests. They created a short, punchy trailer that teased the twist without spoiling it, and used it to target ads on YouTube pre-rolls before dark comedy and horror content. That helped Edgerton land directing jobs and eventually produced his feature, The Square, and episodes of FX's Mr. In-Between. The strategy takeaway here is that he understood tone and audience and marketed to that niche with intentionality. Before 10 Cloverfield Lane, Trachtenberg made a fan short set in the Portal video game universe. It was unauthorized but highly cinematic. They dropped the film on YouTube with zero fanfare, except it was perfectly timed with the release of Portal 2. The result? It racked up millions of views in days. Valve didn't sue, they praised it. Studios noticed, and Trachtenberg was hired for commercials and feature pitches almost immediately. My strategy takeaway here is that he didn't wait for a green light. He borrowed momentum from an existing fan base and made something undeniably good. Identity Theft. This lesser-known short was a spoken word narrative film, and it crushed at Indian poetry-specific fests. But the real trick? He partnered with the spoken word group Get Lit and pushed the film via schools, teachers, and Instagram poetry influencers. The result was a grassroots wave that led him to direct Blind Spotting and music videos for Billie Eilish. The takeaway here? You don't need mainstream buzz. Find the niche who cares and build from there. All of these filmmakers had one thing in common. They didn't just make a good short and wait. They treated it like a campaign. They planned the release, and then they built an audience around it. Some went viral, some networked like hell, some used ads. A lot of them used the communities. But they all treated their short like step one in a larger plan, not the final product. So let's take everything those filmmakers did right and talk about how I'm actually applying it to Cult of Me. Because I'm not just making the short to sit on a hard drive. I'm building it to get seen and to open doors. Number 1, I'm treating this like a launch, not a drop. I've got a plan for before, during, and after release. That means teaser clips, behind the scenes reels, character intros, and a full-on rollout around the premiere. Like, it's a real studio release. Minus the studio money. Really minus any money. I've already mapped out the 3 phases. Phase 1, drip content while we shoot. BTS stills, gritty tone teases, short lines from the script. Phase 2, the official rollout. Poster drop, trailer log line, and a press kit that actually makes us look legit. Phase 3, post-premiere push. Interviews, festival reactions, maybe even breakdown videos on how we pulled it off in 5 days. Number 2, the film has its own identity. We're giving Cult of Me its own Instagram and TikTok. Why? Because it's not just my film, it's a product. And it needs room to grow on its own. So we'll be posting lighting setups, rehearsals, crew shoutouts, vibe-heavy reels that hint at tone without spoiling the plot. Also, I'm setting up a simple landing page. Trailers, stills, press kit, screening updates. Why? Because if someone sees it and wants more info, I'm not going to make them dig through my personal feed to find it. Especially if that someone is a festival programmer. Number 3, we're engaging the horror crowd early. That means Reddit threads, Facebook groups, Discords. I'm not just posting links, I'm getting involved, sharing our setup, asking questions, letting the community know that this film exists before it's done. Heck, even before we start shooting. Because the horror community is incredibly passionate, and I want to be able to leverage that passion. I've also got my eye on horror podcasts, small YouTubers, and even some TikTok creators. Once the short's done, I'll be sending out early screeners and trailers that they can react to. They get content, I get reach. Everybody wins. Number 4, I'm building a press kit from day one. That means punchy log line, 200-word synopsis, high-res stills, director statements, some festival-worthy one-liners, bios of the cast and crew, and yes, a proper contact section, not just a Gmail buried in a Canva doc. If a blogger or programmer is on the fence, this kit makes it easy for them to say yes. I'm also doing a few thought pieces talking about the strategy behind the short. I mean, this is kind of one of them, isn't it? It's not just a look what I made, but here's how I'm positioning this for success. It's that Jim Cummings transparency model. Bring people in and let them see the process, which is what I'm trying to do in the entire channel. So why wouldn't I do it with this movie? It's also the biggest mistake I made with my documentary. Speaking of which, number 5, I'm learning from my last film. My featured doc, Inner Veins, had a lot of heart, but it didn't land the way I wanted it to. Not with fests, not with audiences, and not with me, if I'm being honest. It was a documentary with a fun tone, a niche subject, and no clean angle for programmers. It was too light for serious doc fests, too tame for genre fests, and I didn't give it a real marketing plan. No behind the scenes, no dedicated socials, no pre-launch buzz. I basically made it and hoped the festivals would get it. They didn't. With Cult of Me, I'm not making that mistake again. I know my audience, I know the tone, and most importantly, I know how to sell it. Number 6, horror gives us leverage. Horror shorts are catnip for genre fests. They want high concept, low budget nightmares that leave an impression. In this one, it's personal, it's cinematic, and it's weird enough to stand out without trying too hard to be edgy. It's really the perfect kind of A24 film. So yeah, I'm betting on horror. Because it's not just a genre, it's a community that actually shares and champions new work. All this isn't about gaming the system, it's about showing up like a professional before anyone's paid me to be one. If the short works, if the strategy lands, Cult of Me becomes more than just a cool product. It becomes proof that I can direct, that I can build a team, that I can take a weird idea and make it real. That's the goal. But here's the other side. When this strategy falls flat. I mean, I've been there. My feature-length doc didn't do great. It followed haunters prepping their show during COVID. It was real, it was human, and it was honestly hard to market. It didn't fit the usual festival boxes. It wasn't serious enough for docs. It wasn't horror enough for Genre Fest. It lived in this awkward middle zone. We had no clear audience. And when it came to pushing it online, I'll be real, I didn't do a good job. It just kind of dropped and disappeared. A good film isn't enough. You need a clear angle and a plan to sell it. That's why this time I'm leaning into horror. It's cinematic, travels well at festivals, and most importantly, it has structure. Horror shorts are the best performing genre on the festival circuit for a reason. They grab attention fast, they don't need big names to land, and genre fans actually seek them out. Fests like Fantastic Fest, Panic Fest, Brooklyn Horror, Popcorn Frights, they're not just looking for the next great feature, they're scanning shorts for new voices in the space. Once I had a horror idea that was true to me, not just trendy, I knew I could pitch it and position it better than my last film. Directing a feature taught me a lot. I shot for months, pretty much a year. Tons of interviews, constant pivots, but the tone was light and observational. Almost too chill for most fests. I wanted to make an old school cinema verite documentary, and that's what I did. But it wasn't what festival programmers were looking for when scheduling. The experience was rewarding, but not always fulfilling, if that makes sense. It didn't scratch that itch to build a world, to take control of every frame and produce something tight and scripted the way I had done with previous projects. This time, I'm building something that plays to my strengths. I want strong tone, sharp visuals, and a story that haunts. Something that says, this is my voice as a director. And unlike my last project, I know exactly how I want to release this one. Cult of Me is the start of something bigger. It's not just about getting back to narrative filmmaking. It's about setting the tone for where I want to go as a person and a filmmaker. You'll see more behind the scenes production diaries and strategy breakdowns right here as we make the thing and roll it out. If you're a filmmaker thinking about doing something similar, don't wait. You can shoot your calling card with less than you think, if the vision is clear and the story cuts deep. And if you've made a short or are working on one, drop a comment. I want to hear what you're building. Let's all try to make something that matters, and let's make it loud enough to be heard.